Hello all, so this video I'm actually going to be going over Spider-Man Brand New Day's new set photos, as well as actually a lot more other news than that. Now we all seen the news that's been going around about Spider-Man Brand New Day apparently introducing Mr. Negative, the Punisher, and also fucking Hulk into the mix. Now, we all know how far Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies have gotten, right? Now, I'm not a big fan of Tom Holland's movies. I mean, unless it is to do with Spider-Man No Way Home, then yeah, that is probably the only good movie I actually find to do with his. But the set photos for Spider-Man Brand New Day were also recently brought to light, and I also got to see some of the bigger set photos of all of them. And because they're saying they're going to keep the movie street level, there is one thing I am mainly concerned about when they introduce Hulk and the Punisher into it. See, here's the thing. Mark Ruffalo's the Hulk. It seems to be that Mr. Negative, if he gets introduced into the movie, a street-level villain, he could possibly end up either having Hulk go back to his regular form and not, you know, intelligent boy Hulk, or we could end up having the Punisher fight Hulk, and then that leads with Spider-Man showing up out of nowhere with it. But hopefully, if Marvel's new Spider-Man movie, you know, Spider-Man Brand New Day, does end up going for a route similar to that, because the Punisher also had a run-in with the Hulk in the comics. But I'm mainly focused on how this movie is going to be structured. And I've also seen the new suit, too. The new suit looks fucking amazing. Because if there is one thing I do prefer about the new Tom Holland Spider-Man final swingsuit, it's about the fact that this suit that we had previously, it now looks a lot more like this suit, the Insomniac iteration of Peter's classic suit. That's what I mainly like the most about Tom Holland's new Spider-Man suit. The blue isn't burning my eyes, and I'm actually going to switch the suit here right now. But you can see the massive drawback that shows up. Tom Holland's new Spider-Man suit, it's a mix between Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 2 suit, having the raised webbing of Insomniac's Spider-Man's classic suit, which, might I add, before people get in a tizzy, yes, this suit actually has raised webbing. It's a lot harder to see because you have to really zoom in. But once you see those underlying shadows, then you'll be able to see it a lot easier. The best way to probably show it would probably be in Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, because the detail is more profound there. But, as I was saying, the new suit looks fucking superior. Now, don't get me wrong, I did like the final swing suit from No Way Home, but I had one massive issue with it, and that was the blue. It was too shiny, and just the way the chest area of the suit was formed, it was too angular. It felt less like Spider-Man and more like he was going through a phase. And further going on from this, there is one thing I am going to talk about the most, and that is how the movie does introduce the plot elements. Because now there's a new director taking Kevin Feige's place for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and it is looking a lot better than how it did previously. But the way in which the plot elements are already being shown clearly seems to be that it's taking reference from Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man from the PS4. Because if you actually check the screenshots of the movie sets, you will see Martin Lee's logo, the demon logo, on one of the tanks. And in Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, you also did see the exact same thing. You also saw demon logos on walls, on literal buildings. You saw demon hideouts. Now, my guess is that they are taking heavy reference from Marvel's Spider-Man for one clear reason. The armory. The military agenda it seems to be focusing on. Because if you look at it from how Marvel's Spider-Man was structured, that also had military stuff acquired to it. I mean, fucking Sable was in it. So, my guess for the plot is that they are probably going to be introducing it, like, they're going to be introducing Martin Lee the same way Peter ended up being introduced in Marvel's Spider-Man. Now, in case people don't know how that went, basically, Martin Lee, he was originally the shareholder of Feast. Feast being all the way up around here, let's say. And because of that, it led to one thing after the other. Peter felt like he was betrayed and may put most of his savings towards Feast, and then yada yada yada, so on and so forth. But as it all went on, the truth was slowly discovered. My guess is that Peter is going to find Martin Lee, see him as just a regular, decent person, helping him out while also still working in Feast despite Aunt May's death, even after Feast was blown up. And Feast being this food emergency aid shelter training center that is in Marvel's Spider-Man, it is probably going to be redone there. And possibly by the end of it, it looks like they might be introducing Miles Morales to the MCU as well once the MCU itself resets. Because if you look at all this, it really does begin to connect up with how Insomniac's Spider-Man had it done. I mean, fucking Christ, Tom Holland's new suit looks identical to Insomniac's iteration of the classic suit. Just the only difference is the lenses are a bit more rounded for Tom's and slightly angular, while his logos are there, while Insomniac's iteration of the suit still has the classic logos. It does seem to be that they're taking a lot of inspiration from that. And Insomniac's iteration of Tom's Spider-Man as well, they're both basically one and the same. If there is one thing I have noticed a lot when it comes down to these comic replication styles, it's the fact that every iteration of Spider-Man borrows something else from another iteration of that same Spider-Man from that same different dimension. Because, might I add on this, the MCU is not actually the proper 616 universe. It is Universe 199.99, aka Miguel's fucking way of saying it. But I'll just refer to it as 616, and when it comes down to how Marvel structures its universes, there's always going to be a replication of a same or similar universe with alterations. the biggest way to prove that would actually be with Insomniac's Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because they both borrow very heavily from each other. Just, well, one of them is far more mature. Literally, Peter is 23 in Marvel's Spider-Man. Mainly in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, but by the first game, he was roughly... He's probably still 23. But as I'm going on further on, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he is slightly younger than Insomniac's iteration. And Insomniac's iteration, he has fixed his issues up with MJ. But Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he decided to go for a completely different route with his life, which then led to severe altercations in the MCU timeline. And to actually further prove that Insomniac and Tom Holland's iteration of Spider-Man are both borrowing from each other, just simply look at the way the suits are made. Because one iteration borrowed heavily from Stark, the other borrowed heavily from his enemies, but they both still contain the same amount of tech. So, high chance, when Spider-Man Brand New Day releases, it is going to have an armory battle with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Mr. Negative, exactly like how it was for Insomniac's Spider-Man in the original game. And the further proof of that really does show in the fact that in the behind-the-scenes footage, you see Tom Holland's Spider-Man on the same type of armory truck Insomniac's Spider-Man was on. Just the only difference is, well, one of them is taking place in the 616 universe. Insomniac's iteration is taking place on a similar universe, but it's the similar universe, the Universe A. I'm going to refer to them as A's and B's because that is what the MCU comprises itself of. That is what every universe comprises itself of.
Reckless driving, not great.
And
Didn't know New York
just to prolong how all this makes sense, just simply look at the tech advancements both Insomniac's iteration of Spider-Man has and Tom's. Both Spider-Man have one simple thing. Web wings. Tom Holland's Spider-Man introduced the web wings when he was originally brought to the MCU after the other fucking MCU movies. And instead of it being just the regular, instead they decided to slightly borrow heavily from two universes, the Insomniac universe origin and the classic origin. Both universes seem to be trying to be part of one another. I mean, fucking Christ. Both iterations of Spider-Man have a college degree. They have a fucking science, biology, and anatomical science degree.
Come on, guys! This isn't helping anybody!
The biggest
Time to help.
fucking
Need it somewhere else.
format that the MCU could probably take in terms of borrowing from Insomniac's Spider-Man is probably by adding their own bits and not have it be that grounded, but also still grounded enough to the point where it's at least easy enough to counter the two apart. But I do hope that they go for a similar storyline to how Insomniac's Spider-Man had it done. Because both Spider-Man lost May. Tom Holland's Spider-Man lost his May to the Green Goblin, aka Norman Osborn from our GOAT's universe, Tobey Maguire. And Insomniac's Spider-Man lost his Aunt May due to the Devil's Breath by Mr. Negative. My guess is that they are definitely going to be taking the Mr. Negative Insomniac Spider-Man route in terms of the actual storyline. Because they would not be introducing those fucking armored trucks if that was the case. I mean, they brought full-on tanks to the set. You want to know what else brought full-on tanks? Insomniac Spider-Man. It definitely appears, like, not just from my angle, but from a few other people's angles as well. It does seem to be that they are borrowing heavily from Insomniac's iteration. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at the suits for fuck's sake. The only logical difference is the suits' logos. Okay. Right? We have Insomniac's classic suit iteration, and wouldn't you know, the actual iteration of Insomniac's Spider-Man logo and Tom Holland's Spider-Man logo, it does look like they are definitely borrowing heavily from each other. You can even tell from the back of the spider's ass cheek on the logo, too. Insomniac are definitely having their own role in the movie in terms of Tom Holland's suit design and storyline. And the biggest reason why I'm thinking that they are going this route is because there has been a lot of Martin Lee indicators. Now, as fans of Insomniac Spider-Man have been, we would genuinely be fucking surprised if Martin Lee came in, because Martin Lee has never actually had a live-action adaptation at all in history of Spider-Man media. Martin Lee only really became known around the Ultimate Spider-Man universe from the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series, the new generation one, where Spider-Man, for some reason, has no fucking sleeve webbing on his suit. And instead, the webbing around his sleeves are replaced with fucking webbed shoulder pads instead. That is the only time Martin Lee has ever really been mentioned in proper series media in terms of Spider-Man content, but he has never gotten a live action ever. And just from the rumors alone, it definitely is gonna be true that Martin Lee will have a big part to play in Tom Holland's universe. Just like Insomniac's iteration. It all really tethers down to the fact that the actual new creative director for Spider-Man Brand New Day is borrowing heavily from Insomniac's iteration. No doubt about that, but I do hope that they do not fuck up on this one thing that Insomniac's iteration of it fucked up on. And that is the constant dragged out bits of sneaking in that aren't needed. Now, in case people don't understand what I'm on about here, basically, Insomniac's iteration of Spider-Man, he had people sneak into places to get him information on shit. I hope to God not Insomniac's, I hope to God Tom Holland's Spider-Man does not go the route Insomniac's Spider-Man route did with that. Because the pacing makes the movie extremely slow if they do take that route. And the movie has to do with Martin Lee. And probably the biggest concern people had with Insomniac Spider-Man that Tom Holland's Spider-Man might end up not doing is not giving us as much of Martin Lee as we were looking for. Insomniac's iteration of Spider-Man sort of really just gave us Martin Lee, but But they didn't give us enough time with Martin Lee. It was just there. It happened at a nice pace. And then it just went really fast. It just went off the fucking table. I hope to God Tom Holland's Spider-Man doesn't take that same route when they do introduce Mr. Negative, because it will literally kill the fucking pacing. Like, we actually want development with Martin Lee. Insomniac's iteration of Martin Lee, we do get a small bit of development with him. But we do not get a proper amount of time to process it, because the minute we do, we're already in the fucking game kicking Martin Lee's ass. Twice. We barely got much time to know Martin Lee for who he actually was. All we know is that his parents died to a lab experiment Norman put on. I hope to God Tom Holland's Spider-Man at least takes a similar route to that, but does not go to a route where it becomes so fast last minute through the movie. Because that is the biggest issue a lot of people had with Insomniac's iteration of Spider-Man. Insomniac's iteration of Spider-Man was, he's still good. Is he still good? Yes. But the main issue people had was with the Martin Lee segments in particular. Because the Martin Lee segments felt way too slow in most cases, and then way too fast in other cases. It felt extremely underwhelming when you looked at it from that perspective, but you can't exactly say this was perfectly fine when you barely got to know much about Martin Lee in the actual fucking game. If Tom Holland takes a route similar to Insomniac's, they better give us a bit more character development with Martin Lee to actually give us more time with a broken man. Because that's the thing with villains. That's the reason Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was so fucking redeemable. It let us be in the villain's shoes as well and understanding their pain. If Spider-Man Brand New Day takes that route, it definitely would feel a lot better. Especially when now we'd actually get a better process of what actually caused him to be even more angry than he was, that caused his abilities to kick in. Martin Lee is a mafia boss. He's a street-level mafia boss that also had a lot to him that was never really explained in the Insomniac dimension whatsoever. A lot of it just lacked. So the character development sort of just fell flat. And when writing a villain, you got to at least give him some development as to why he chose to be the way he did. It only makes more sense if that's the case. Because if you do not explain the villain's origin in full, and I mean, not to mention too, Martin Lee's had his origin changed a lot. Starting from him becoming Mr. Negative after touching a fucking time relic, leading to the negative zone, giving him the negative dimension abilities. Then there's also Insomniac's iteration where the negative zone was less of an actual fucking negative zone and more of just a genetic disease from CRISPR that managed to alter the genetics to produce earthbound light from the person's microcellular degrading cellular structure. I do biology, I have to explain it in detail. But you got to at least have it be believable. Give our boy Martin Lee an origin that is also understandable and makes sense too, because that was also what sort of lacked a bit for Insomniac Spider-Man when they introduced him into the game. Because in Insomniac's iteration of Spider-Man, he sort of just became Mr. Negative after the CRISPR injection that was partially fumbled with. And that is the most odd way to give your boy abilities, especially when Martin Lee, it wasn't actually because of that. It doesn't make sense, because if that was actually the case, then Jesus Christ, Martin Lee'd be cooking. Martin Lee would be melting if that was the case. If it was actually a viral genetic disease caused by the CRISPR in Devil's Breath. If Tom Holland decides to take the time shatter tablet, that actually made sense. The movie would no doubt hit the fucking shelves faster than I have a slipper thrown at me by my stepmom when I scare the shit out of her. It would honestly be amazing if they did choose that route. I mean, look at Shattered Dimensions, for fuck's sake. You think that game is popular for a reason? Hell no! When Mr. Negative was introduced into some of the game before he was eventually cut, it turned out that he himself gained the Negative Zone abilities from the Time Tablet. That is the best lore implication for Martin Lee's own CRISPR genetics failing him as well, because you know what negative energy does to a person. Like, quite fucking literally. I don't mean astrally. Jesus Christ, this isn't fucking Scientology with Tom Cruise. But the actual Time Tablet does explain a lot about that. And the thing with the Negative Zone and the Time Tablet in Marvel is that when that tablet is destroyed, it doesn't just degrade the person mentally, it causes them to actually become schizophrenic. Martin Lee literally has two sides because of that Time Tablet that was broken. If Tom Holland's Spider-Man takes that route, we could also potentially have what Insomniac's iteration of the Spider-Man universe had. The Negative Zone Spider-Man, which would be fucking awesome. Like, there's a bunch of plot elements you could have with that Spider-Man-Brand-New-Day could take over with, and not just borrow some bits from Insomniac's iteration. I just really hope Tom Holland's iteration does not fuck up on that, and that it does actually stay accurate with Mr. Negative if they do actually decide to do Mr. Negative as a live action. Because Mr. Negative, it's about time this motherfucker actually got the light on him. Literally. The Negative Zone has been a major part of the classic Spider-Man universe for centuries. And I say possibly if they introduce Mr. Negative, that could most definitely introduce a time-shattering effect and whole entire timeline reset. Because nobody else seems to actually know this, or really know much about Mr. Negative, but Mr. Negative, he can bury deep inside in a person's mind, and not just fuck with them mentally and emotionally inside their own brain like it's some sort of stripper club. But Martin Lee could potentially be able to reset the MCU dimension, because this motherfucker can control time in some cases. Martin Lee has access to the Negative Zone dimension, and that's a powerful dimension. He's just a conduit for that. And Brand New Day already seems to be setting something up with Mr. Negative, but the way in which they do it is yet to be seen. But if they go the route that I just mentioned, the comic accurate route, we could potentially get a negative zone suit as well, which would be fucking deadly. It wouldn't be the average either, because, you know, the negative zone does alter a person's brain drastically. I mean, you even see it in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 with Miles Morales. Miles can't even camouflage anymore because Martin Lee's fucking with him. The negative zone is literally its own formidable dimension. This is like the SCP Foundation that has a similar dimension to the negative zone in a monochrome type color palette that I use when sketching. It is amazing how fucking good they could actually get it with the origin I had just stated out there. Brand New Day, if it does introduce Mr. Negative that way, it would literally be nominee award winning. Like, Tom Holland would literally get a fucking Oscar for it. Like, people would love Mr. Negative as a live action, especially when, like, there's all sorts of actors. You can get the actor that plays fucking Genu from K-pop Demon Hunters in on this shit. He looks like the comic accurate Martin Lee. I mean, have you seen him on his fucking Instagram? He looks comic accurate. They have to take some route for Spider-Man Brand New Day in order for the movie to really be a box office hit. But that also means no more cringe fucking dialogue, no more script writing that sounds like it was done on ChatGPT. No, this shit needs soul. And the movie director, the new movie director that's directing Spider-Man Brand New Day, it appears to be he is definitely adding soul to it. Because, like, you can sort of taste it based off of just the sets alone in the movie that are still being done. Now, the movie isn't taking place in New York. Because, like, Spider-Man, not No Way Home, like Spider-Man Far From Home, they are having it take place in Scotland. You know, the place where my half bloodline came from. Yes, I am in fact half Scottish. I can just pull off an English accent so well. But that's also the thing. People don't necessarily understand how far the script could go with this iteration, especially when you look at the movie set photos. The movie set photos are practically providing us with fucking lore so thick and juicy it almost has its own flavor. I just hope to God that they do not fuck up Mark Ruffalo's Hulk again, though, because that's the thing that made the MCU fucking flop in the first place. Because Big Brain Hulk ain't exactly Hulk anymore. It's just Mark Ruffalo with his chromosomes realigned in a big green muscular body because testosterone hit the fucking roof. That is the main problem people had with MCU's Hulk. It didn't even feel like Hulk when they did make Mark Ruffalo's Hulk Smart Hulk. It just didn't feel right at all. And like the pale skin too. Man looks like he's been sick his entire life. I get the fact that it was CGI, but still, Jesus Christ. That was the ugliest bit of the movie ever. Like, I was trying not to cringe during Endgame because Hulk himself wasn't even Hulk anymore. It was Mark Ruffalo with testosterone levels bigger than fucking Jake Paul using steroids. It was like that. It was fucking awful. A lot of people didn't like Intelligent Hulk because it lacked what the comic accurate Hulk had, which was genuine humor. And the humor the original Hulk had was fucking hilarious. I mean, even in the comics, him and Spider-Man would always be messing about. There was even a time where, and this was when Hulk still had his gray skin tone, Hulk and Spider-Man had a fight, and in order for Peter to calm Hulk down, Peter had no idea his strength was increasing so much and accidentally punched Hulk so hard he ended up in the moon. He hit the fucking moon. I'm not even joking. You can check it on the original comic book to do with Hulk. And yes, Hulk did used to be gray. But he was changed to green because back then the ink in the printers were awful. I mean, this comic took place around the same time the 90s animated series of Spider-Man was still being developed. After Amazing Fantasy had just been released. Back then, Hulk and Spider-Man weren't really too common. Because, like, there was also a point where Spider-Man got hit with the gamma radiation and he became Hulk, and then Hulk himself and Spider-Man became more than just friends after that. They became brothers. Because Hulk managed to let Spider-Man understand that genuine struggle of being a big green monster and doesn't want to be referred to as said green monster. It makes sense. And they're already setting up the original Hulk to return back into the MCU. No more, it's web fluid fucking Hulk. No Dr. Einstein fucking Hulk. No more of that. No Mr. Inspector Gadget looking Hulk whatsoever. We get our proper boy back. Which is honestly a godsend. Because the main problem that actually surfaced the most with Intelligent Hulk, you know, Professor Hulk, was the fact that you could not remotely attend to even feel what he was feeling because everything that came out of his mouth was some sort of fucking science equation. Even in the comics, people hated it. That's why they decanonized Intelligent Hulk. Because nobody likes the Intelligent Hulk. We like this ravenous beast exactly how we like him. Like a salad dressing. We prefer accuracy. It doesn't have to be fully comic accurate, but it has to be accurate in some form. But then there's some comic book airheads that will literally complain about inaccuracy most times. Now, I would say I am one of them, but I'm partially not if you actually understand the bigger picture. Because I'm all for accuracy, but the thing is, because of biology, I don't really give two fucks about it, because accuracy really does hit the nail on the head if you're demanding so much. Because as Sam Raimi said as well, if you're gonna have Spider-Man be the smartest kid in the world, because literally this motherfucker has 560 IQ, he would be too intelligent to have rent problems. Why do you think Sam Raimi gave him organic webbing? That type of stuff makes sense. See, and forgot to mention this as well. Sam Raimi is like me. He is autistic. We take matters of things differently because we actually use proper demanding scientific learning for this. The main reason people have seen Spider-Man from Tobey's iteration was so good was because actual biology was involved in it. Like the spigot to do with Tobey Maguire's organic webbing as Spider-Man. That would be happening due to the natural producing causes of iron that is running through its brain. and he can create multiple forms of that webbing due to the blood in his body too. His own iron is basically being its own fundamental catalyst for fat to create the webbing. That's why Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man never gets fat when eating. It's the type of biology like that that makes Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man so loved. Even if there are Spider-Man 3 haters, yes, I understand. It's too bloated, but you didn't think the same when Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 was that bloated either, did you? That is the main reason why people loved it. I also hope to God as well, when they do introduce Tom Holland's two main head leads to help him with Mr. Negative, it isn't this shit that happened before. Because last time when Tom Holland had lead people by his side as Spider-Man, you know, back when he was wearing where is it? This shit. It sort of just, it didn't work. Because Tom Holland's Spider-Man was practically seen as a tech child. And probably the biggest problem people had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man was the fact that he was so hyper-obsessive over being with another superhero, despite the fact that he was also said superhero. It didn't make sense. When back then, Spider-Man used to just look at Iron Man himself and contradict the shit out of him. Literally. Back during the comic iteration of our original Spider-Man iteration, Peter used to smother the fucking Christ out of Tony Stark for his literal abundance of tech nobody wanted and advancements that nobody cared about. Because back then, Iron Man was also an egotistical, scummy prick. To the point where it led to him and Spider-Man literally beating the shit out of each other out in the open streets. And because Iron Man no longer exists in Tom Holland's universe, thank be to God, because I was getting tired of the, oh, my favorite superhero, I'm finally one of them. Like, I hated that. Tom Holland's Spider-Man wasn't even an accurate Spider-Man in terms of that plot element. Him just talking with Tony like that in that manic tone felt odd. It honestly felt weird. It felt strange. Because how can you call him a superhero when you yourself are also a superhero? Just the only difference is, well, he has at least a net worth of Elon Musk. You're here with rent problems. I don't understand that. And not to mention, Tom Holland's Spider-Man practically had it easy until Tony Stark and Aunt May died. You compare that to Insomniac's iteration. Tom Holland's iteration practically had it easy. When the whole point of Spider-Man's origin is to not be easy. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. He had to do a deal with the fucking devil to keep Aunt May alive, even though it meant sacrificing his own marriage with his girlfriend that had later been his wife. As if that even mattered, because that was the shittiest storyline. Because Aunt May was bound to die regardless. I mean, fucking Christ, what age was she? Sure, she was probably 30 in Homecoming. But in Tobey's universe, she was 67! That was the main problem a lot of people had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He had it easy. You look at Tom and Andrews. Tom had it easy. Andrew had to go against Oscorp and still lost Gwen. Motherfucker straight up stopped pulling his punches, which, in my favor, I actually do prefer. Vicious Spider-Man is definitely goated. I mean, Spider-Man 3 proved that when you all were calling him Bully Maguire. For the last 20 years, I've been counting. And then, further going on, it sort of just... It didn't feel right for Tom Holland's Spider-Man to have everything, while many other Spider-Men lost everything. Sort of feels like a scenario with Invincible, with Mark Grayson, where one dimension he lost Debbie and never found her. That's what it was like. It sort of just turned into a Mohawk Mark moment, because, yet again, he was like Tom Holland. He had it easy. Meanwhile, here Toby is nearly losing it Aunt May after the Green Goblin nearly fucking killed her. Nearly lost MJ, who ended up being a cheating bitch regardless, because she got with 3 fucking dudes. And then continuously being treated like he was merely a scrap of dust. Andrew's Spider-Man, he lost Gwen, he lost Uncle Ben, he lost Gwen's dad, the chief of police. That is what actually made those movies good. Because in order to win something, you must also lose something too, that you value the most. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm still going through it. I've already lost 4 people in my life, and I'm still here up and running and throwing jokes out for you guys. Tom Holland's iteration, that didn't really happen until No Way Home, which was, like, don't get me wrong, was it decent enough? Yeah, but like, did you really have to wait till a 3rd movie in the franchise to finally kill off Aunt May? Jesus Christ! It's as if Tom Holland as well finally understood what great power, what great responsibility meant, as if he's been here before. You know, with great power must also come great responsibility. That line, that was also used in the Spider-Verse and also used in No Way Home. It did sort of lack there. Because, like, did Tom Holland's Spider-Man not have Uncle Ben? Did Uncle Ben not really exist? Because we don't really get a mention of him. Not once do we get a mention of him. Like, literally, you can go through all of the movies, Spider-Man Homecoming, Civil War. No matter what Tom Holland iteration you go over, not once is Uncle Ben even mentioned. Sure, did we need an origin for it? No, but at least a mention would have been nice. That's why I'm hoping that in Spider-Man Brand New Day, since now Tom Holland has lost everything, including his bitches, he now finally has a reason to continue on with it. And hopefully, instead of MJ, he actually gets with the Gwen, because currently right now, MJ is batshit fucking empty inside. Literally, she doesn't even know who fucking Peter is anymore, which is stupid. And that also leads back into probably another origin being redone, which I hope to God isn't going to be the case. And Tom Holland's iteration, I get the fact that he was basically a billionaire baby. But Jesus Christ, that was one of the major downfalls that I hated with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It wasn't just the lack of really a mention to do with Uncle Ben. It was the fact that he had his whole entire life easy. I mean, Jesus Christ, you look at Tom Holland's iteration of Spider-Man. Fucking Christ, Flash Thompson ain't even a bully. He's just a dick for the sake of trying to make people laugh. Man's just trying to be a comic relief. You actually go to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's versions of the Flash, you know, of Flash Thompson, and you will actually see what I mean. Flash Thompson as well didn't really feel like a bully. He just felt like a comic relief. And that was a lot of the major concerns most people had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And then there's the Tom Holland fanboys that are completely refusing to overlook that. Because not just was he inaccurate in most cases, but going on from being just a regular kid that just rarely suffers any consequences in his life, it just sort of feels fucking redundant. Because the whole point of Spider-Man was to have issues to lead to those problems. It's how character development works. You can't exactly have a character and then not have those problems. Sure, did Tom Holland have his identity leaked as Spider-Man? Yes. But that doesn't exactly pose much use when the same shit happened in the comics as if it hasn't already been done before. Like, I was at least expecting some fucking downside to this, not him being assaulted by people out in the streets even though he's a superhero, which is just a bollocks move in my case, because he just stood there and waited for green paint to be thrown on him. That I green screened to have fucking Elmo on it. I straight up did that. Yes, I did do that. But moving on. I didn't like that at all. Just, he waited for people to just toss shit on him. It felt almost undeniably... How do I say this? It felt almost understated. The reason for him getting his identity leaked and then him losing a lot of what he had, it felt fucking stupid. Because he beat the shit out of Norman Osborn and the Lizard through a damn apartment and ended up with scratches and bruises and ended up looking like a melted fucking dildo, to now looking like he could simply be hit by a simple twig and he'd be sent fucking 60 feet across the damn area of the ground. Like, the biggest issue I actually had with No Way Home there was because, like, they just let it happen. They did the Flash series moment where they waited for the character to be in one spot to then have the activity happen. It felt odd, because Peter could have easily fucking dodged that, and you put that into perspective. I mean, not like he hasn't dodged 60 rounds of bullets in his time in the last 40 years. It has been 40 years since the original comics. And yet, the MCU, the way it was constructed from the start, Tom Holland's origin just felt fucking off. Like, from the beginning. Because we got no mention of Uncle Ben. Shit just happened without really much consequences. Flash Thompson wasn't a bully, he was simply just a dick because he wanted to be. And also a very fucking hilarious comic relief. It was just one of those scenarios where you genuinely wonder what the fuck happened midway through the script in order for Tom Holland's Spider-Man to be a little bit more shit than the others. Now, don't get me wrong. Am I basically glazing am I basically glazing Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man? Kinda, yeah, but they aren't also without faults. But even with that in the middle, it does feel very fucking strange that we now waited till a Spider-Man Brand New Day for the consequences to finally settle in. Even though the consequences could have happened in Spider-Man Homecoming, it would have made more sense. Or at least Far From Home, at least. But I do hope to God that Spider-Man Brand New Day fixes a lot of what a lot of MCU haters had with Tom's Spider-Man in particular. Now, I don't hate Tom's Spider-Man, I just felt that he was a bit lacking in areas. Now, I'm going to end the video off here, but if you all enjoyed the actual content, like and subscribe if you're new. And if you want more information on this, I will literally hit you up with more news whenever you feel like it. You need me to be, to do in general. Now, with that said, peace.